Good evening, Speed Gaming 4 and the Link to the Past Randomizer community presents the 2019 Link to the Past Randomizer Tournament. Tonight we have this exciting match between Oneup40 and Buane. Hail, friends, I'm Adirondack Rick, being joined by Sir Linkalot777. This is the winners final of this group.
Yeah, winner final is game one as well. So first person to get to the Triforce room is going to take that advantage into game two.
Yeah, so let's talk about how these runners got into this position. Buane ended up defeating Dazed Cloud, a 2-game sweep, and Oneup knocked off RD Walls with a 2-game advantage right there to set up this Group F winners final. So both of these runners come in with a 2-0 record, which is also important given how the brackets are going to be formulated.
Yeah, if you don't take any losses in this group, you're going to have a very good shot at a very high seed, which, might help your placement and to make a deep run in the tournament.
Yeah, we'll see if anybody can join the 4-0 crew. We've already got a couple of runners who've already made it into that group here. So, you'd like to get a good seed at the beginning, help maybe ease off some of the tensions you might have, even though we're going to have kind of a strong group of 64 when we get to the brackets.
Yeah, I mean, especially you look at just the 128 that qualified, and having to narrow that down to 64 is rough. It's just so many good runners made it in, and some of them are. This is going to be where their tournament stops in the group stage. It's hard to imagine that.
Yeah. So let's talk about this seed coming up here. Since this is game one of this best of 3 series, this is going to be a typical open 7-7 defeat Ganon goal, and we are underway.
Both going to start from the sanctuary where we find that mushroom to begin with.
Yep, so obviously we're going to start off with this fetch quest. We're going to get a map check, and I do see a 5-6 crystal over at Eastern and a blue pendant over at Hera.
Yep, and Desert was just a plain old blue crystal. Still need it, so it's still important, just not quite as important as that red 5-6 crystal.
Yes, so both of these runners heading here through towards the forest. Let's go ahead and see what we have for our 2 items over here. And it looks like Oneup heading over towards the tree. Looks like he's going to go check the bush crabs. Turns out just to be some hearts falling from it. We do see arrows as the tree pole, the tier 1 tree pole, that is.
Yep, mushroom spot was 50 rupees, and we get some arrows in the Thieves' Hideout.
Buane coming to get the same information that we saw from Oneup, and we'll pick up, or at least see his 10 arrows, that is. Yeah, he's going to see it and say, no, I don't want this. So he's going to go ahead and go back to the start. And at this point, you got to figure the route may take you, Moon Pearl at Link's house. The route will take Buane over towards the house. Oh, no, he's going right straight for the dam.
Maybe he's even thinking of doing a fake flipper here.
Fake flippers, yes. So as you can see, he's up against the edge of the screen right now as Oneup takes a look at his map, trying to set up the fake flippers, having a little bit of issues here right on the edge of the screen. And then finally does buffer it by using the non-existent sword that's in his hand. This will allow him to trade in the mushroom really early, as Oneup hopes to find some bombs in here. Speaking of such, there they are.
Always nice to get those bombs when you come down here. It takes a lot of time if you have to come back here for that one check.
See a bunch of hearts here as well. Let's see what we get from the mushroom. Is the mushroom important? Well, I'd say it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure hook shots required, typically.
Very nice find right there. Now, the thing with this here for Buane is that it's going to allow him to move around a little bit faster by hookshotting all the things he possibly can to increase his movability around the world. move around faster, you can get around the world a lot faster. You can maybe catch up some extra speed over your opponent, as we found our first bottle in the well.
Yep, a nice find. You can check Sick Kid while you're here. Looks like Stun Prize was just a heart.
Yeah, not a great price that we got so far, as we still get some more rupees out of the well for Oneup, and Buane getting a little bit of the 50-50 going his way, finally picking up a bomb that he can take with him to Kakariko Village.
Yeah, speaking of Kakariko Village, though, outside of that bottle, we really haven't found anything so far, and only got a few more checks left at this point.
We got the 20 rupees right there at the race game. Buane's not going to be getting that. We're going to check the chicken coop for Oneup, and let's see what we have for our one item right there. And hello, that is a hammer.
Okay, well, I'll retract my statement. We didn't find much until we found a hammer in the chicken coop.
So Oneup heading here to the sick kid, gonna go ahead trade in that bottle, and the bottle yields him the bow.
My goodness. And half magic.
So what were you saying about this Kakariko Village not amounting to a whole heck of a lot?
The seed was reading my mind, that's what I'm gonna say.
Buane going to go ahead and spend his bomb. He's using this at this stage in order to go and purchase some bombs with the 50 rupees that he has in his arsenal. Now he does pick up the bombs, or rather he does pick up the hammer, and now he'll head over to the shop just to the south and pick up his 10-pack of bombs for 50 rupees.
Yeah, we'll see where Oneup goes after these checks. The librarian will see the 20 rupees on the race game.
I do want to point out that we are now just a glove away from Dark World access.
Yeah, we've got a potential of very early Dark World access, and that early bow as well kind of helps. We've got that possibility of going to Eastern Palace early. Don't have a lamp or a fire rod, so it's not within logic, but still, it's a crystal dungeon. You can full clear at this point.
So there's the Moon Pearl pickup for Oneup, and now Oneup is going to head over towards Hyrule Castle, see what he can see inside there. Now, bear in mind, Oneup does have to go trade in that mushroom at some point in time and pick up the hook shot.
Yeah, it's kind of the big difference right now, and how long do you put that off, since that mushroom was right away, and normally to get to Witch's Hut takes a bit of time if you walk there, but that fake flipper makes it a quick, easy check from Link's house.
Oneup heading over towards the uncle. He's got just 20 rupees for Link this time around. And 20 rupees inside of that chest as well. Now, getting the hammer, getting the bow means that you're going to go through this Hyrule Castle without much else of a problem. Nice arrow strikes for Oneup on those guards right there, instead of throwing the bushes, which would have definitely got him poked by a couple of guards.
Yeah, instead of taking those guards out nice and quick. Buane almost done with his Kakariko Village checks. Just going to talk to the sick kid here. He'll pick up his bow and then probably save and quit after that, I would imagine.
So Oneup here checking Hyrule Castle, gets himself 3 bombs. We know that the small key is either going to be in Dark Cross or in the back 3 at this point.
A little bit of difference in the routes here. Buane's going to make the play. Oh, never mind. He is going to, I guess, checking on Lake Hylia Island before heading to.
And Buane right now is just following. I got this bow. Let's go ahead and check this at this point. Although that was an interesting save and quit at this point. I don't know if that was intended or if that was just an accidental hit of the button. But he is going to head on over to Sahasrahla, check the 3 items we got back there, and probably make his way into Eastern. I mean, why not? It's a dungeon you can beat. And what if we get the gloves there?
Also, that information about the Ice Palace.
Yes, Ice Palace being our green pennant this time around. There's the glove.
You were saying gloves?
Now that probably will get Buane to try something different at this stage. I think he's gonna wait and maybe try to see if he can't locate the mirror first, so he can double up on both Pod and Eastern.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Oneup decides to do if he decides to dive into Eastern Palace. Because if you find something like the mirror or any other major item, it might be a while before Wayne goes back for that. And especially Eastern Palace is also one of our 5-6 crystals. The other one being Skull Woods.
Yes, and our pendant up on the top right hand is Turtle Rock. Ew. So Blaine's probably going to route this by going into the Hype Cave, getting these 5 items, and looping himself towards the Palace of Darkness. He's got the rupees to do so. He's got the equipment that could beat both of those dungeons. Gets the Quake and Flippers.
Some nice hype in the Hype Cave. At least the Flippers. Quake, who knows? We might need that from Misery Meyer.
Oneup heading to the South Shore area, and Buane is doing exactly what I said, but not what I said. He's doing the opposite of what I said. He's heading over towards Stumpy. That's what I mean to say.
Getting Stumpy, and we'll get the digging game, I'm sure, and then after that, we'll see where he decides to go. Oneup on the main hand. We're getting some checks we haven't seen here on the dam.
Sanctuary Heart. So Brain is checking the digging game.
More money.
300 rupees. So while I take care of something real fast, you want to go ahead and talk about... Well, we'll wait until we get out of Kakariko. Whoa, there's the mirror. Hey! South Shore has the mirror this time around.
Yeah, and I have a feeling we know where Oneup's going now. He's going to go right to Eastern Palace, grab those gloves, and now he can, if he wants to, do a double up on the Pod and Eastern.
Yep, there's our first sword. And I miss seeing what we had at Dark Cross, but there turns out to be an item at Dark Cross.
I want to say it was only 20 rupees. It wasn't anything important. But yeah, definitely the mini Moldorm cave paying off with what we found there. Oneup's about to get his gloves. In the back of Sasha's closet, Buane's going to be getting his mirror shortly as well. He looks like he's going South Shore now too.
Yeah, and that may encourage him to go to the Palace of Darkness at this stage, because now you definitely can double up. And I think that's probably why Buane opted not to go into Eastern, because getting those gloves meant the Dark World access. Now you want to do this based on routing or minimizing your walking, and obviously getting the mirror would minimize your walking a great deal.
Yeah, and Oneup deciding he doesn't care so much about that. Looks like he is. Oh, never mind. He's going to use the portal, so that's exactly what he's going to do.
He's going right straight to the portal number 5 right here.
Kind of the dangerous thing, though, we are looking at, we don't have any fire rod or lamp, and, dark rooms aren't an issue, but we got to deal with the turtle room, and we're not exactly on, the most of hearts at this point, and we'll have blue mail, but really no kind of safeties or anything like that.
And the fact that Oneup not checking the back 3 of Escape just yet is running this just on a hammer.
That as well. So he's not even going to really navigate his way because he's got the bow and arrows. I guess you could use those to kind of figure out where you are, as well as the hammer to see the hammer sprite. But it really don't have a lot to figure out where you are in those dark rooms.
Buane is checking the... Are we going to Zora at this point? No, we're using this to swim our way over toward the Ice Rod Cave.
Probably will get a Zora check afterwards. So got those rupees.
Yeah. Yep. With 932 rupees, he definitely has enough to be able to make the purchase. As Buane will be checking the Ice Rod Cave coming up right now. This is something that Oneup hasn't done yet.
Which I don't really blame him. I mean, you got all of you did out of Mini Moldorm Cave. It does take you a while to get to this one check. Typically, you don't get anything. Kind of like now, you just get those 10 arrows.
And we will find out whether or not we definitely needed the bow coming into here. And it turns out that we do get a key in the first spot. That mirror coming in handy right away as Buane is getting ready to go into the portal. And Buane going into Eastern first.
I guess this kind of makes sense. It's the easier of the two dungeons by far, and if you do get any kind of fire source here, it does make that turtle room a lot easier.
Oh, for sure.
Or a sword for navigation, just kind of anything. Yeah, chat bringing up a good point. Buane probably will route in Hobo while he's here too.
Yep, there's the mirror right there. Just jumping right into the water right there, mirror to the light world ad. Here it is, your hobo check.
Kind of one of those things to mention as well. The room you saw Oneup go through, Buane's going to actually be able to make this a bit quicker. He's got that hook shot still that Oneup needs off of the wit.
Yeah. Buane picking up the red mail. Now, Oneup, if he wants to, after he's done with the Palace of Darkness, could head over towards Catfish, where he could loop in his Zora checks and also trade in the mushroom that way.
It's going to be kind of really interesting to see how he actually routes leaving here just because of where he found everything.
Yeah, I think he might actually just go pyramid to potion shop to Catfish and to Zora.
It would be an extremely good route. You're not wasting much time at all. And Catfish, if you go to Zora, is kind of isolated.
Well, that's going to help if you get into a little bit of trouble with the beetles.
If you're not going to complain about a red potion.
Having a little bit of trouble now, though. Yeah, this is the difficulty part, is that he keeps getting the Igor.
Yeah, and has to use that red potion.
Yeah, he keeps getting the Igor while the Igor is frozen. And the damage to the Igor only happens when it's in motion.
Yeah, kind of surprised I haven't seen him like reset. Oh, there's a death, unfortunately.
Ooh. That's a tough one to take. And the worst thing about it is with them centering on you down there on the very bottom, you got to deal with them while you're trying to feel the door if you're trying to go out and grab the fairy.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, that's what makes that extremely difficult if you lose sight of where your Igor turns out to be, is even if you're trying to reset the room. Oh, silvers in pot.
Oh, like you were saying, that's kind of one of those rooms. Once it gets away from you, it's really hard to get it back on if you can't get out.
Plus the fact that Oneup currently down to one arrow. Thankfully, these pots replenish themselves.
We'll see if he can make it through this room now.
So now he gets the Igor to move. Unfortunately, he's in the same trouble that he's had before. Finally gets the key. He's got the key, but he's got one Igor living, and he takes the death.
Yep, got the key this time at least. So next time he can come in here, he can just kind of go right to the back. But still, these are 2 deaths and walking through Eastern Palace, and he's actually leaving. You really kind of have to wonder how that's going to, dictate the rest of his route at this point, because 2 early deaths in Eastern Palace, you're going up against somebody like Buane or, really any of the runners in this tournament at this point. Taking deaths and losing time like that, it's like you have to start to make different decisions than you normally would to think that you're behind.
Buane having some issues on what turned out to be pretty much a merry-go-round for him.
Yeah, those hard hat beetles just not letting him through.
So Oneup has just given up on Eastern for the time being. We'll pick up the silver arrows coming up in just a moment. Gets the map there. We'll drop down, find his silvers in just a second here, as Buane will drop down and we won't see much of him now. And if you're Oneup, those silvers wouldn't have done much for you inside of that dark room. But that's got to be a little bit of a salt to the wound.
Yeah, it really hurts to take those deaths in an early dungeon. Whether you're playing, just on your own, just running through a seed, especially in a 1v1 race where it's like time is of the essence. You really don't want to waste time anywhere if possible, and taking those deaths in that room really hurts.
And this is also where the routing for Oneup, not getting the sword in the back 3 of escape is hurting, because that dark room with the Igor probably would have been a lot easier with that sword in his arsenal.
Yeah, and we're gonna kind of see how he's gonna work this maze that Buane's working through. He's got those nice little sparkles to guide him through, but Oneup is not gonna have that. He's really gonna have to go through the maze basically entirely blind.
Absolutely. Buane did pick up a shovel, according to chat, inside of the basement of Palace of Darkness.
Yep, was on the left side of that.
Buane picking up some bombs as a result. Has noped out of here. We'll move on to his next destination, which will be inside of Eastern Palace.
Yeah, which I don't really blame him. You're looking at, he had 3 hearts going to that turtle room. No, he doesn't even have the red potion either. That's a dangerous room to begin with, but on it, even with red mail.
And bear in mind that these checks are out of logic.
Yeah, shovel will be in logic if we find a fire rod, but everything inside the maze, which I don't think there was really anything important, it looked like, that we do need a lamp for.
Oneup has decided to go with a few arrow strats at this point, but he does not have a whole lot of arrows and has to switch John over to the hammer.
We got that first item.
And this is not easy. Anybody who has done these pod dark rooms with a sword stuck out, you get rid of that sword, this can be a really tricky maze. I give a whole lot of Oneup, a lot of credit to Oneup for the fact that he's even getting through this using a hammer, which is annoying as hell. And the fact that he's getting through this and got to the other side to pick up these bombs.
And he did it relatively quickly, too. I believe Buane did it faster because he had that sword, but still, he did not waste a lot of time having to use the hammer to get through there.
All right, so Buane now heading over here to the Igor. Now, this is the room that Oneup took the unfortunate death in. He's got the arrow against the Igor now that moves, so he can now know when when to strike it. That's the way that is supposed to go if you're one up. Unfortunately, he could not hit the Igor when it was moving. He always ended up hitting it when it got into a resting spot.
Yeah, you could tell where it was, but since you can't see when his eye opens up, it's kind of difficult to determine when it's actually going to wake up to where that damage is available at that point.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
We should see a very, very quick kill on the Almost Knights with silver arrows.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That might pick up for Buane, and one up finishing with the Hype Cave check. I want to point this out right now. Take a look at Buane's inventory. You know what this seed is screaming to me?
Trying to think. Yep, Swamp Palace.
Swamp Palace. Yes, the flippers, the hookshot, the hammer, and the mirror. 6 items inside of Swamp Palace. There could be something good in there. As Buane finishes off with Eastern to grab the first crystal of this match, is now heading on over here to Helmsar King.
I'm trying to think as well. It's like I feel like you almost have to check Swamp, just because I'm thinking Hookshot was technically a sphere too, because you had to find the mushroom, but everything else, except the flippers, like, was early. You had early hammer, early flippers, like everything. Yeah, it's definitely screaming, go to Swamp.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those dungeons you don't like to go in there to look for 6 items, because it does take a while, and if you can go mode it, that's a good amount of time you save, but 6 items when they're accessible this early, it's kind of hard to give up.
It's hard to pass up. So we're going to get our pyramid check from one up, and then I would have to assume at this point you trade in the mushroom, you get that hook shot.
Yeah, I feel like that's the idea. And hey, there's 300 rupees, so that's actually going to give him the rupee for Zor while he's there now, too.
And the fact that he's grabbing these 300 rupees tells us that he's going to Zor after this.
So Buane did go back in a pod. He is going to try to get through this turtle room with his current equipment.
Yeah. So, as you can see, he's hammering around. You can see them when you hit them. Wow, this is nice. That's 5 hits really fast.
Yep.
But he's got one more in the darkness. He's trying to peg around to figure out where it is. One up's got to be careful. Oh, I was going to say, wait a second. Is he not trading in the mushroom? But there he goes. I think he just remembered it just after he walked right by it. Or maybe he just wanted to be safe because he gets hit by that enemy. He might be taking a return back to start.
Yeah, and that might take him a long time to get back here. So thankfully he remembered. Because he's going to be happy.
Is the hook shot, and also the health replenishment is more important because One Up wants to get to Catfish next.
Yeah, I might have red mail, but everything still kind of hurts.
All right, Helmsar King down to 1 silver arrow. Perfect here for Buane. And gets a piece of heart for his troubles. As One Up gets ready to head on over towards the Catfish area. And Catfish has all the Titans mint, so Catfish is 100% required.
And Buane saved and quit, so it could, I mean, unless he's going to go to Catfish, it might be a while before he gets there.
That is very helpful there for One Up. One Up needs a break after what happened to him in Eastern.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're going to get a check on Zor and kind of something to, excuse me, something to kind of note. It might be a while before One Up gets a sword since he's checked the front of Escape and Sanctuary. He knows there's only 1 item in the back, so it's the map and the key are there. It might be a while before he goes to check that.
That's a good point because that does reduce the value to there. I didn't see what was on the ledge.
That looked like 20 rupees to me, so I don't think we're going to be killing Aga this seed.
Fine. I think we are going to go into another dark area.
Yep, we sure are.
Makes a whole lot of sense here for Buane. You know, you have the hookshot, you have the hammer. This is a wealth of items at this point. Little does he know that Buane actually has something that makes this a little more valuable. Now, does Oneup check the back three of escape at this point, knowing that there's one item back there? Yes, he is.
Yep, I think he's going to be very happy to find this sword. But yeah, like you were saying, I wouldn't actually be surprised to see Oneup also do the sequence break after getting the sword. He has a lot to check on the mountain.
Yeah, he's got 7 extra check, or he's got 6 extra checks and a 7 extra item, or a 7th extra item that he can get at this point. As we see Buane coming up to the mountain, there is the sword for Oneup.
Yep, an old man having our magic powder.
Which is out of logic at this point. I like the fact that we are seeing Oneup using the mirror out of the sanctuary to quicken up the walk out of there.
Yeah, it doesn't, you know, it's just a few seconds here and there, but sometimes there's been a lot of close races in this tournament already. So sometimes it might just be that 1 second you saved. That might be the difference between, you know, a loss or a tie or winning even.
So, Buane heading up to the mountain here. Looks like Tower of Hera is going to be next.
So Oneup is actually going to stay within logic. He's going to go back to the Dark World.
As Buane picks up the big key, now we'll probably will see Buane opt to use the Hera pot technique coming up in just a moment, where he's just going to clip himself into the pot and save himself a trip up that 3rd floor. There's the Cane of Samaria. Oh no, he is not Hera potting. And that is a pendant, that's why.
Yep, that's just a pendant. You got one major item out there, you gamble that the other item that you need is not in there.
Yep, exactly. So, Buane, that's actually a very wise decision at this point. You know, you're climbing up if you were going after the 2nd item as it is. 50 rupees on the floating island, so the item that Oneup has an advantage of is not going to cost Buane in that instance. We don't know about Hookshot Cave or Super Bunny Cave just yet.
There's also kind of one potentially important thing, and we'll see maybe if Oneup decides to gamble on it because of those deaths. There's a possibility that maybe Turtle Rock is Quake, and since we're going to find Samaria maybe on Oneup's side, he could decide maybe to just make a quick entrance into Turtle Rock, see maybe if something's there.
Pendant Turtle Rock never has anything important, does it?
Only when it does.
Exactly. We're about to get a Paradox Cave check here for Buane as we get the small key from Oneup. Inside this Thief Sound, Game 1, Best of 3 series. Winners finals for this group. So the winner of this bracket, they're moving on to the round of 64 in the brackets.
Yeah, so a lot on the line. Thankfully, you know, if you do take a loss here, you still got another chance to make it to the brackets. You got one more series to go. But still, you know, making it in on the 2nd week, you get that nice week to just relax, enjoy it.
Boots!
And we get the boots. So, Auto Logic boots, those are going to help Buane. He's going to be able to run all over the place now. And Oneup's going to, you know, we'll see when he decides to make this sequence break. Or maybe he'll find a lamp or a flute in Thieves Town and he'll decide to make that trip.
Knowing this seed, it's going to give us the flute. You know what those boots might end up actually doing?
What was that?
Well, it might not end up doing it at this point because Buane is heading for the place that you and I were talking about a little while ago with Swamp Palace. I was gonna say maybe it might encourage him to get over to Catfish.
That's very possible, and I'm kind of looking at our inventory and what we know about our crystal. It's possible that I think we're 2 items. Granted, we would need a lamp for logic, but I think we're, we need flute, so... Actually, no, it would be 2. We might just need flute and fire rod, I think, to actually be in go mode. And a sword. Assuming Misery Mire is Quake. We do get a Cane of Burn and Blind's chest. Probably not the cane you're looking for, but it still is kind of helpful, and we get a piece of heart in the big chest, so Oneup's going to be heading off to Blind to do battle there. Wayne's going to keep trudging through Swamp Palace. Alright, so blind fight for Oneup. We'll see if Buane decides on a left side skip as well. Almost stayed on script, but still a very nice fight from Oneup on blind. He gets his compass and, more importantly, his first crystal. Alright, so Buane is going to start with the left side skip. We'll decide if he goes back in. We'll see if he gets all the items.
As Oneup checks the brewery. And that yields 5 rupees. Buane getting ready to drain the swamp. This route divergence here. And Oneup keeping to how this logic seems to want him to go at this point.
Yeah, with what he's found, it makes perfect sense. When Oneup's kind of more going along with what he's found with those Titansmith.
He's coming up to a big part of what he can do with these mitts in just a moment here with the breadsmith chain, which is exactly where he's lining up to go after this.
Yeah, and it kind of almost feels like if we don't find anything in Swamp, that Titansmiths are what's actually hiding. Unless something's in Skull Woods, because Oneup did skip Skull Woods, he didn't dive that. No fire rod, so we couldn't clear it, but still, you've got access to quite a few chests back there.
There's never been anything inside Skull Woods without the fire rod, has there?
I mean, I think I found like a powder back there that led to a lamp once, but other than that, nah, not really.
That's rude. Hammer is out for Oneup, so he will check the peg caves here. And we're seeing just the way to spin your way to a Argus kill. Draws out his silver arrows, gets ready. Fire, dead.
More Argus, that is a map. So yeah, I believe we've got 2 items inside left side swamp or in the big chest. The crystal number 3 for Buane.
I almost want to say we have 3 items.
You might actually be right.
Because I think we started with the compass inside that first chest.
Yeah, this would be a big gamble if he leaves swamp. I don't think he's going to. Nah, no.
Not with 3 items still remaining. I can totally get it if he was down to maybe 1 item or 2 items, but not with 3.
Yeah, or if you've been kind of playing poorly and you feel like you're behind, that you just have to make that kind of a skip, but
And who knows, maybe this was meant to be a go mode dungeon.
Yeah, still nothing out of swamp to kind of signify if we needed to do this early. Haven't found anything behind Mitt so far either, though. Just 100 rupees in the big chest, so that wasn't needed. We've got plenty of rupees for the rest of this seed.
And so far, honestly, the hookshot hasn't yielded anything.
It doesn't, which makes me kind of think about that, potential hookshot cave when we have
Yeah.
logical access to it.
Buane using the Cane of Samaria strats here to be able to hit that crystal switch because the fighter sword is not big enough in order to hit the switch through the wall.
Oh, I almost forgot about this. The shovel spot. The
And there's
lamp.
the that means the fire rod is how you're supposed to get there.
Yep, that is indeed. So that would also mean a logical double dip pod as well.
That was a fire rod blocked shovel down in the basement of the Palace of Darkness. That's spicy.
Welcome to V31, everybody.
And if anyone's going, wait, what? That is one of those things, as you mentioned, V31 added it with the advanced logic. You could use the fire rod to light torches to find your lamp.
So I'm trying to think where we've checked then. So if we don't find a fire rod in swamp, it's got to be what, Graveyard Ledge or inside Skull Woods.
There
But
it
there's
is.
a fire rod right there.
So left side swamp comes up big here for Buane. There is your logical access to the shovel. And Oneup's going inside.
Even more important than the logical access to the shovel, since that's the lamp, that's the logical access to Death Mountain. I would not be surprised to see one of them go immediately to the mountain after this. I was just thinking we were running out of spots at that point logically with the lamp where it was. It's like we had to find something very soon.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. So Buane's about to pick up his lamp. And he's going to know the dirty stuff about this seed right here and now. There is the lamp for Buane. He's got to make his way over to Catfish, though. That is where the Titan's Mitt is going to be.
I almost kind of see that's going to be on Buane's route at this point, but it's going to be almost his furthest point to route. I kind of see him starting. He's going to go to Dark World here at Village of Outcasts.
Yeah.
He's going to go clear Skull Woods. He's going to go clear Thieves Town.
Yep.
And then maybe take the North Dark World route and finish up at Catfish. But that means that's his last.
And that really is decent routing here for Buane. And he's getting stuff done. Give him a whole lot of credit. He is definitely getting some stuff done. And just a little bit of a brief warning, we're going to go dark for just a moment. While we are still checking things that we have already checked before, but don't worry, we'll all be good in just a moment.
And we'll do our best to get you caught up with anything we might not have seen when we get some pauses and things like that.
So Buane is inside Skull Woods. I think he's going straight to the back at this point.
I mean, it makes the most amount of sense. If you find both items in the back, you save a lot of time in Skull Woods.
And we're back. Oneup going bomb stretch in order to hit that switch.
Yeah, he still doesn't have that Samaria. So yeah, and he skipped kind of the red boomerang. I think that really was kind of his only option to actually get into that crystal. Sword's not going to reach, and nothing else he had was really going to get to it.
So Oneup is going to go check the left side right now. He waits for the bomb. Good patience as Buane will make his way over towards Mothula. And bear in mind, this is a 4-item Skull Woods too. So if nothing turns out to be on Graveyard Ledge, does Buane decide to go straight to Catfish, or would he go for the Pyramid Ferry?
That'll kind of be the interesting thing, because I think after this he's going to go to Thieves Town, so he's going to have that decision to make. But either way, I think he'll end up at Catfish, regardless of how he routes this at this point.
Nice fighter sword strats there for Buane, as Oneup picks up the what would be the Mirror Shield at this point. And there is the Fire Rod pickup for Oneup. Still doing a little bit of walking because he is yet to go up the mountain.
I really do think that is going to be the next play for him, though.
Yeah, it has to be at this point.
Or go ahead.
I was going to say, it really has to be at this point.
Yeah, I mean, like, with the lamp and everything, he could go and clear out Eastern and Pod, but I think that whole idea that, you know, I took the deaths in Eastern and I left Pod the way I did, you know, when you're up against these top racers in this tournament, it's like you have to think, like, if they found something there and I died and I left it, they're extremely far ahead of me, so I just kind of have to hope that nothing's there and, you know, keep playing what I'm finding at this point.
And maybe Oneup, after he's done with this, will do Eastern and Pod to finish them off. Because we don't know where the flute is. We know we need it at some point in time. And here's the thing, is that Eastern could be blocking the flute by way of Pyramid Ferry.
It could be. I almost feel like the flute's on Dark Death Mountain, though, at this point.
Interesting choice here. Buane is going to be checking something we haven't seen yet because of the boots. And Oneup gets hit with that stupid swamp glitch of going back down those stairs.
Picks up his 100 rupees.
And Buane's going to be checking King's Tomb and Graveyard Ledge at this stage. And then the question is, where is it going next?
And we'll see maybe if we see a save and quit to do the big bomb potentially, or if he's going to just follow it to Catfish.
And there is an Ether Medallion inside of King's Tomb.
That could be big.
Yeah. Given the fact that those are boot blocked. And here is Graveyard Ledge for Buane. Pulls out his bombs, gets ready to attack the wall. As Oneup gets ready to attack Argus. And we are not seeing a save and quit, so Buane is going Catfish next.
Yep, that is where he's off to in Zora area.
And immediately right now, Oneup's having a rougher fight against Argus than we saw from Buane. You saw Buane being able to pull off 2 of those puffs at a time and just use some strats right there, some of the speedrunning strats, to make this a whole lot easier of a fight. And this is where Buane, his combat advantage is shining proudly. Still not a bad fight for Oneup, just it's taking longer than what we see from Buane. And Buane is not going to Catfish, he's going to Thieves Town next.
Yep, Thieves Town, and then we'll see. After that, I'm sure we'll see a save and quit, and I would imagine Pyramid Ferry up to Catfish. But this is kind of what Oneup needs, is Buane basically last location these mitts almost.
And a swing and a miss right there for Oneup. And he gets him on the second cycle or the second lap. And Argus is down for Oneup. Where does Oneup go to next?
I almost feel like you have to make the mountain play at this point.
You know, you've got the Titans Mitt, and the Titans Mitt were out of the way. Maybe you press that advantage, and the only way to press that advantage now is to go up to the mountain. But he is not going in that direction. He's going...
Ice Palace?
to Ice Palace? Or where? No, he's swimming his way to the floating island, or what is going on here?
I don't think he did the check on it. I know Buane jumped down and checked it, so...
There's a save and quit.
Okay, so that's good routing then, because he hadn't actually checked that.
Yeah, that makes sense there. That does make sense. Get that out of your mind right now before it becomes a problem.
Yeah, and this has got to be the Death Mountain play now.
And because he started right here at Sanctuary, this is 100% the mountain play. So here's the thing. If it's in Super Bunny or in Hookshot Cave, advantage goes to Oneup just a little bit, but that's not where he is going.
Where is he going?
Oh, he's going to Skull Woods.
Yep, Skull Woods, that's right.
That is right. He's got to finish this. Maybe then he does Graveyard Ledge and then heads up the mountain.
Yeah, like, unfortunately, like, the biggest thing right now Oneup could find that would potentially help would be the Ether Medallion, in case you can go into Turtle Rock, and something's required in Turtle Rock. Because I think as far as kind of checks we've seen outside of the item in Hera, since Buane just dipped out of Hera after picking up the one item, I really think it's Dark Death Mountain and Turtle Rock is kind of where we're looking at. Maybe, I guess, Ice Palace as well would be a big one.
For sure.
And we're kind of even closer to that point. We just really need maybe Bombos to get into Misery Mire. We don't know yet because we still need that Flute. So Flute, Sword, and potentially Bombos. But other than that, we're ready to go.
Just a reminder, this is game one of the finals, the winners finals of this group here. Oneup versus Buane. I think game two is already on the schedule.
I can go and check quickly.
On a busy evening of Link to the Past Randomizer here on the Speed Gaming Networks. Also be sure to follow the ALTTPR, the ALTTP Randomizer channels, as they will be carrying some of the matches of this tournament as well. And Buane going up against Blind. Poke, hit. And hit, and that was a cleaner fight against Blind for Buane, as Oneup faces off against Mothula. Has more magic than what Buane came into this fight with, so he could go ahead and go a little happy with the Fire Rod shots if he chooses to do so. Still seeking out where our swords are. That's a good fight there for Oneup.
Yep, down goes Mothula. There's one item.
And the second item was downstairs, so that's both items inside Skull Woods.
Yep. And as far as their second match, yes, it has already been scheduled. It is on Wednesday, the 11th at 6:20. I'm not sure on the restream as of right now. We'll see if that happens or not, but it is on the schedule.
And Buane is going to check the Magic Bat. And Oneup did not get the powder from the old man, so this here's a check that Buane has over Oneup at this stage. What does the Magic Bat have? Is it something that's required? It's 20 rupees.
It's required if you want to find all the rupees in the game, but I don't think that's what we're going for right now. I'm pretty sure it's defeat Ganon as quick as you can.
What isn't? It's not first to 5,000 rupees to win?
You didn't get the memo?
No, I didn't. Buane checking the Pyramid Fairy. This will give him a reason to go to Catfish.
Yep, I think that's going to be his last check. I think that's his actual last logical check.
Yes,
at
it
this
is.
point as well. Well, I know. I guess he's got the lamp, so no, it's not. He technically could go to Hera for that last item, but other than that, yeah, I think it's just Hera and these checks on the that he's going to be doing now.
And Oneup is checking the Graveyard Ledge. And here goes the attempt for the bomb dupe here for Buane. Turns the corner, gets it on 0. Bomb dupe accomplished. Still seeking some sword information, also still seeking the flute.
He is not seeking those 300 rupees though.
Yeah, definitely not. Now when he's already got what he needs, 50 rupees, a heart, and Pyramid Fairy not required this time around.
And actually looking at health, I just kind of looked at One-Up's health again, and it's like, oh, yep, front of escape
To
he
the
hasn't
castle.
done yet. Actually, Buane, I guess maybe he'll do that on his way out. I was like, I don't think Buane's checked Uncle.
Still putting off the Catfish check. And Oneup is going up the mountain.
Yeah,
At
this
this
makes
point-
the most sense.
At this point in time, the flute either has to be up here in Hookshot Cave or Super Bunny, maybe in Turtle Rock if we can get inside, or Ice Palace.
Yeah, really the only other option would be we find a book that gets us into desert. Then the flute's sitting in there. But yeah, we've kind of halved, or we're really running out of locations quick. And I think the worst place for this flute to be for Buane in this case would be Tower of Hera, because I really don't see him diving Tower of Hera again at this point until he's checked other things. And right now, I think the worst place for Oneup would be a Ether Lock Turtle Rock.
By the way, this flute of ours, there's another possible location where it could be, but we need an ice rod for it.
That's just me. And I know you're not talking about Trinex either.
That is right. And that would be absolutely miserable if the game decides it wants to put there.
It's very possible though. It's like that's the only tool we're missing for it right now.
But we're still a ways away from worrying about that. We still got a long ways to go.
Yep, I'm about to pick up his boots, and kind of got to wonder how he feels about that, knowing they've not been logically accessible for the longest time for him, but the fact that it wasn't really that difficult to do a sequence break up here very early.
Yeah. And the only saving grace for Oneup at this point is the fact that Buane is about to last location these Titan Smiths.
It's definitely the time that Oneup needs to kind of close this gap, because he still has to go back into Eastern and Pod to clear those out.
And at this point, Oneup is just waiting or trying to wait until he's in go mode at this point because he's got all the items in Eastern. He's got all the items in Pod. And we know that Pyramid Fairy has nothing, but he doesn't. And here goes Buane. So you're Buane. You're about to get the Titan's Myth that's been on Catfish, and it's out of the way. How do you feel?
I think with the other plays you've made so far that you don't feel terribly behind because Titan's Mitt does lock a lot. Kind of how we see that Wayne's running out of checks before Oneup is running out of checks. Also, there's also contributing factors to that as well. But I don't feel like he's going to feel, if he does feel behind, that it's not that far behind.
It's more like a ugh at this point for Buane as opposed to a oh shoot. But you got to also remember that your competition in this stage of the tournament, there's our Master Sword upgrade. The competition in this stage of the tournament is very difficult. And there's the Titan's Mid, of course, for Buane just a moment ago as well. So let's get some information about this seed. How much of a jerk is this seed?
That's Ether. Oh my goodness, that's Ether.
It's a blute blocked Ether. If Flute's not inside of this hookshot cave, this could be advantage Buane again.
It's possible because I think what'll happen is unless Oneup goes directly for boots locked locations and then decides to go back up the mountain, he may decide to just go to ice instead. And if the flute's in ice, Buane could very well go all the way back to Laser Bridge for absolutely nothing.
Oh no! Not in hookshot cave.
There's also Hera, so we'll see. There's still some potential help for Oneup. But Buane's going immediately to the mountain, so he's going to find Master Sword, and I have a feeling he's going to dip Turtle Rock.
Makes a lot of sense at this point, well, especially when he sees the Ether there. Little does he know those boots was his biggest advantage for a good part of maybe, 20 minutes of the seed?
I mean, yeah, it could be the advantage. We'll see. It could also, almost backfire as well. Because if, like I said, if Turtle Rock has absolutely nothing and that flute is sitting somewhere else, or even in Hera, I feel like he's that gamble, or not necessarily gamble, but it's just Turtle Rock's that big bait because of that Ether Medallion.
Oh, Herapod here for Oneup. Oh, he's trying to get it, but he's having a real tough time going about it. There he goes. Tries to get himself aligned. Buane starting at the portal to Turtle Rock. Will he dive in? There's the Herapod for Oneup. Nice job.
He's at least going to open it.
Map found in the side of the big chest for Oneup. Compass found. At this point, you're hoping Moldorm doesn't drop a key.
Yep. Will Moldorm still get the last laugh? We'll find out. Right. Buane checking Hookshot Cave. We know he's not going to find anything. So the question is, does he dive Turtle Rock?
Yeah, and Buane at this point still has to dive into Super Bunny.
That too.
And it's not a fun place to miss when you're in a major race. But he is popping inside. There's a nice kill for Moldorm for Oneup. Oneup's hoping that this is the second item. It's the small key.
The key.
Yeah, there's the Master Sword pickup for Buane. As Buane is not doing a save and quit, he's either going to one of two locations, Spike Cave or Turtle Rock. And it's going to be Turtle Rock.
And Oneup, he is leaving Hera. So he's not going to that basement.
Mm-hmm. So if Flute turns out to be inside of this Turtle Rock for Buane, that is a major, major advantage.
Yeah, that's go mode as well. We're flued away from go mode now. Maybe bombos.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're not 100% there. We could still need the bombos, but major advantage to Buane. Piece of heart found for Oneup. What if it is in the Tower of Hera basement?
At this point, I think that's the worst place for Oneup, just because he's further behind Buane. I have a feeling it will be both their last locations.
Magic Cape and the bug catching net. We already had checked the bumper ledge, and here's Oneup, and he's gonna be a little ouched, not probably happy finding the ether here because of what he could have done up in the mountain if he had found that first, but given where the boots were.
Now the decision, it's like, do you go right back up to Turtle Rock? I kind of feel like you almost can't, just because of the kind of how the rest of the seed has played out so far for you, that you can't gamble on that, because if your opponent did do a sequence break, that they've had boots, so they more than likely have this either in or inside Turtle Rock.
Outside of going back into Eastern and Palace of Darkness, what else does Oneup have?
Ice Palace.
You are right.
And it would actually make sense to go to Ice Palace. It being the green pennant, you have to go back to the pod Eastern area anyways to finish them. You can just grab the green pendant, and if you find flute earlier than that, you just leave.
You are right. There's the red rupee for Oneup. Now the decision. We're going to start at the Link's house. But do we go Eastern?
Almost went somewhere else for a second there, it looked like.
He thought about his options. There's a vanilla big key inside of this Turtle Rock, and it looks like Oneup is not going to do the Ice Palace check. Instead, it's just going to go ahead and finish off Eastern and Palace of Darkness. And the reason why Oneup probably has this more focused is because what's attached to the Eastern Palace crystal.
That is true.
What do you think goes through Buane's mind if he finds the ice rod somewhere in this Turtle Rock?
That you finish Turtle Rock and still hope that it's not a pedestal seed.
Well, yeah, but what else is going through his mind? Like, what do you think? Do you start to curse the seed at that point?
I think you start to curse the seed and go immediately to Hera and clear that out just to be safe, and then go right to Ice Palace.
Maybe Mimic Cave has it. No, just a little bit of love by way of a heart container. An hour 5, hour 6 into the seed, the pressure starts to mount. You don't know where your opponent is. Maybe he found the path of the items a whole lot better than you did. Maybe he's struggling just like you are. You don't know, but you always have to press on forward.
Yeah, both runners definitely have things that are probably in the back of their mind. Oneup's, unfortunate deaths in Eastern Palace are probably weighing on him. Buane, basically almost last locationing the myth.
And we know that this is going to be a maximum 3 potential items here on Laser Bridge. Without that key in his arsenal, one of them's guaranteed to be a key.
Let's see, is Laser Bridge the answer?
That map, 2 items. Heart container, 1 item remains. Red rupee, not here. Unless it's on Trinex. And the ice rod is somewhere in Ice Palace.
Or that lovely Hera basement that both runners have skipped at this point.
Or that lovely Hera basement that both runners have skipped. Oh, this seed is making me hurt.
I'm almost kind of surprised to see that Oneup did skip the Hera basement, considering he went for the clear. I understand it is a lot of time, but you already kind of spent that time clearing all of Hera. It really hurts to kind of, clear Hera and leave that one item behind anyways.
Agreed. So as the seed continues for both of these runners, Buane pulling out the hammer tells us he's going to do Spike Cave. Which is not the answer. Oneup going into Eastern Palace. Just to fight off against the Armos Knights. Once again, this is to unlock the Pyramid Fairy, which was not of significance in this seed.
Right, so Buane's done with Spike Cave. Where is he going to be off to now?
He has to go Ice Palace at this point. Or does he do the Breadsmith Chain? I think starting here at Link's house tells us he's about to do Ice Palace.
That certainly looks like the route to Ice Palace.
And he turns to the south. This is the Ice Palace play. 3 items inside plus green pendant. And all we're looking for is a flute to get us into Misery Mire and maybe the Bombos.
Oneup with the kind of muscle memory, which I don't blame him. It has been a while since he was in this room when he got that key.
Yeah.
Maybe he might have just been paying that or not the mimic.
That Igor deserved it after what happened to him about 50 minutes ago.
Yeah, I think maybe both of them deserved it, actually.
Buane using the hook shot here, taking care of the Pentagators. Finds the big key. Quick almost killed there for Oneup. Picks up his crystal. We are all tied on the crystal count. We're all tied on the item count. But we still don't know where the answer lies. And Buane does have the advantage by an extra search. All of Turtle Rock has been cleared. Is Oneup making the Ice Palace play? No, he's making the Pyramid Fairy play.
Which is not a bad play whatsoever.
Yeah, it makes sense. It really does make sense. You just cleared your remainder of your 5/6 crystal. You're going to do this. This is why Oneup opted to do Eastern and Palace of Darkness, despite having already picked up the items.
Yeah, I think if you were going to make the Ice Palace play, you would have done that first, compared to going to Eastern Pod.
And just a note here, and Chad is pointing it out, Oneup has indeed defeated Moldorm inside of the Tower of Hera.
He also did pick the pendant up as well. Because I have seen that where they have killed Moldorm, did not like the item, and just left the pendant.
Or they dropped down to the very bottom. Map to be found here for Buane. So far we've seen a big key and a map inside of this Ice Palace. So Oneup picking up his 50 rupees, his heart container.
I really hope at this point Oneup goes to Ice Palace and not Turtle Rock.
Yeah, because this would give, and he is going back up the mountain.
Oh, no.
5/3. Red rupee picked up for Buane. But based on where Oneup is going, this is a trip into Turtle Rock, which is going to give Buane some extra room. The checks that Buane made, or the checks that Buane hasn't made that Oneup has, is the Breadsmith chain at this point.
Yeah, really the only way I see him doing that is if actually Ice Palace itself comes up completely blank as well, because I see him doing Breadsmith's chain before going back to Hera.
Ice tea room. 3 bombs.
The right color of the item, just not the right item.
And you have to figure that Oneup after this is going to be... If Oneup checks the basement of Hera and it turns out that the answer is there, that's going to give a little bit of an advantage, but I don't see Oneup doing that at that point. I think Ice Palace is going to be calling their name as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Big chest. We got the key in the first chest here. There is our flute for Buane. So 1 hour 13:55. Buane may be in go mode, but we don't know. The next 2 minutes will determine the answer to the puzzle.
Time to activate our flute, get the swag duck, and then find out, are you actually in go mode or not?
Oneup getting through this Turtle Rock. We now know that this is not the answer that we know of. So if this was to be a pedestal seed, it's got to be the Ring of Fire, the Bombos, to get into Misery Mire. But Wayne's going to give us that information right now in regards to the entry into Misery Mire. We'll know in 15 seconds or less as Buane sprints on over, checks the medallion. It is Quake. We are in go mode.
It should not take too long for Buane to get these last 2 crystals. We've got to go into Misery Mire. We'll see how that treats him, but then Desert Palace should not take too much time at all before we go to Ganon's Tower.
And you could see Buane just making up a lot of time when those early boot pickup, moving around the overworld a little bit faster. Yeah, he last location the mitts, but the mitts just really unlock a whole lot. And Buane made the right decisions.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things, like if you're gonna like last location something, mitts are one of the best things to last locate just because of how much it actually locks.
Get ourselves a small key plus another key. Is this a God Mire setup? No, it's got the book.
I have a feeling we're not going to be checking anything behind the book.
If the book leads to the other 2 swords, we're not getting them.
Yeah, like I could see potentially some runners deciding maybe to check on Ether Tablet right before going into Ganon's Tower, but I don't see either one of these runners doing that.
Now with Buane going all the way through Turtle Rock, little does Buane know that Oneup is doing the same moves at this stage. But in Buane's eyes, maybe Oneup did not. Buane had the boots around the same time he did. And in full honesty, I think what really was the defining moment of this race was the fact that Oneup took the death to the Igors in Eastern Palace because he didn't have a sword that helped determine where he was, lost control of where the Igors were, and just took what turned out to be two really bad deaths, and that wound up making a huge difference because of backtrack time.
Yeah, I think it was that, and at that point, it's like, what did that change in his routing at that point? It's like when you take those deaths, at that point you're behind, regardless. So it's like, what do you have to change in your own routing? Because you have to make gambles somewhere. You have to cut corners or do something. Because if you just start doing the same thing, especially if your opponent does the exact same thing, especially when you're going up against somebody like Buane who has an extremely high level of execution, that you're just going to continue to lose time and you have no way to make that time.
And we saw that execution right there with the spooky action glitch, and now we're going to see him silver arrow these eyeballs down. That was fast, that was efficient, and 2 more silvers down, and Buane will be done with this Misery Mire.
There were eyeballs there?
Maybe for all the 5 seconds. So Buane going to be setting up his portal just outside of Desert. Go inside. Try to find where the big key is. And Oneup now getting ready to head into Ice Palace, where the big key led to the flute.
Yeah, I don't blame Buane checking Desert Ledge at all there. It was a really quick check. If there was a sword there, you saved a lot of time.
Yeah. Tempered Sword versus Master Sword is a big difference maker. There's the bombos. So if Misery Mire needed the bombos, it was just around the corner.
Yep, but that was a big note from Buane. And Big Key is going to be on right side of Desert.
And there's the big key, there's the mirror. Buane is done, and moving on to face off against the Lammolas.
Yeah, and Oneup has a chance to potentially save some time depending on how he wants to route Ice Palace. If he goes directly to the big chest instead of, going to right side using the north room where the big spike is, he could get that flute a little bit quicker, but there's going to need to be a lot to happen at this point for him to catch up.
Yeah, this is a case right now where Oneup would need to make a huge gamble at this stage. Because if Oneup follows the standard route, he's not getting the flute for a little bit. And right now we're seeing him missing a couple of moves here, just getting bonked around by the spikes, missing out on the key. And I'm wondering at this point if nerves are starting to play a role into this, or if this is just simple just getting wrecked around by Rando at this point. And Rando can Rando to these runners. We've seen it many times before as Buane finishes off against the Lammos really fast. And Sir Link-a-Lot, we have 7 crystals. We are heading up to the tower. Why are people putting numbers in chat?
I'm pretty sure people are putting numbers in chat because it's time for the Ganon's Tower Big Key guessing game. Sadly, the bot is down still. We still need to get some batteries for the bot. But, chat, if you still want to go and put your numbers in, 1 to 20, guess where the big key is. We'll try to keep track of it. But where is your guess today, Rick?
Well, somehow I'm thinking the 2 people that I'm seeing in chat who are putting down double-digit numbers of a 6 together with a 9, that probably will not be correct. But I'm going to minus those 2 and say 3.
All right, early big key, we'll see.
What about you?
I'm gonna go with number 7.
Number 7. And Oneup is doing exactly what we figured he was going to go to the right-hand side. Like I said, this is standard routing at this point. Maybe you might check the freeze wars first, but it's a big drop down to head to the big key that you'd have to be making a very strong gamble in order to make that play at this point.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, maybe he will check it right at this point now that he's done, after he's done with these freeze wars. But he's pulling out a bomb, which means no, he's not. So if there's a greater moment for him to miss the bomb jump, that would have been the time, but unfortunately he did not, so he's going to check Iced Tea first. All right. It's time to see what we have, and Buane finds a small key on the torch. And because he checked that first, that's chest number 1. So I'm still in this game.
Yes, you are. So we'll see. We're gonna go to Stelfo's room.
He may be setting up a Dark Magician route.
It's possible he didn't go Hope room.
2 is 300 rupees. 3, Tempered Sword. There's our ice rod.
Yep, Dark Magician strats.
And there's a key right there. Beautiful sword right there. So we are now 5 checks in. 6 and 7. Is my commentary partner Sir Linkalot 777 correct? 6 bombs. Well, you got a key, but it's not the right one.
Yep, got a key, not the right size, sadly.
Flute pickup there for Oneup. He is now in presumable go mode as he noped out of there after grabbing that as well.
Yep, he will learn very soon that he's in go mode, but he's got a lot of ground to catch up. A lot of things need to go wrong for Buane at this point.
Yeah, he's got 2 dungeons he's still got to clear at this point. Number 8 is 20 rupees. Number 9 is bombs. Number 10 is 50 rupees. Number 11 is 20 rupees. And instead of going full to the Armos, Buane will pull out the mirror, and now we'll head back to the left-hand side. Next chest is number 12 if you're keeping count at home. I do know I saw a couple of 12s in chat.
It's not 12 though, just another key.
Did somebody pick 13?
Let me go back and check.
I don't see any immediately, but...
Yeah, I'm not seeing any. Cause we got somebody that said 13, but they said 14 first. So we're gonna go with the first guess because I know that's what the bot does. So I do not see any 13s.
True game show rules right there. We have to accept your first answer.
There were quite a number of 14s though.
And we'll see a whole bunch of rigs if it becomes the wrong 14. 14's no, 15 is no, 16 is no, 17 is no. All right, if you're 18, you're on Bob.
And I do see 118.
And I do realize the way I phrased that was 100% incorrect.
Bob has died.
I do regret the inconvenience. Number 18 is a compass.
Alright, it is either behind ice almost or it is on tile room.
19, 20, or 21. Means it's coming up here. Behind the ice almost number 19. No! 20, yes! There it is.
Did anybody say 20? I am not seeing a 20. So we go Price is Right rules then, correct?
I see a 20, but they stuck a 4 right next to it, and because they wound up doing it that direction, sorry, they lost, they got nothing. We'll have to save our chicken dinner for another day.
Yep. Or does that mean the commentators get it anyway, since we don't want it to go cold or spoil, right?
We'll give it to Hanson since he was doing the tracking for us.
That sounds good.
Spooky action there for one up. Nicely done.
Right, but Buane is starting the gauntlet.
Buane smoothing his way through the gauntlet. Nice arrow on the Staphos. Precision as he gets his way over towards the Lamos. Got his silver arrows all loaded, so no menuing here. 1 and a 2 and a 3.
Down goes Landmillis 2 as Oneup finishes off Vitreous, grabs his crystal, and he's going to be off to Desert.
Yep, it'll be a fast trip here through Desert for Oneup. As Buane making his way up to the 5th floor. Doesn't need that magic.
Nope, has more than enough magic at this point.
And up to the 6th floor, just a few more fire rod shots.
Almost ran out of magic. One of
Doesn't
those
need
shots
to
got
be.
stopped.
Pulls out the hook shot and gets ready to face off against Moldorm 2. Not even checking the final chest, no reason to do so. Tempered versus Butter. Not enough of a reason to open up that chest. And at an hour 31, after full clearing Turtle Rock, Buane has got to be wondering, where is my opponent and why haven't they not done yet? Even if you are a person of high execution like Buane is, you've got to be thinking that at this stage.
Yeah, when you last location any item, you feel like that. Even Mitts, like I said, it's one of the best items to last location because of how much it locks for it at the same time.
Ooh,
Last location. Yeah.
Missed out on the cycle right there for Buane. Inflating his bong count, because why not? It's only statistics at this point. Oneup having some issues against the Lamola. And bear in mind that Buane perfectly one-cycled both Lamo fights. And this is where execution really comes into play here, is the amount of time that Buane picked up also through his execution.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of execution, we're probably going to see a very, very nice Ganon fight here with tempered silvers. This is going to be a very quick Ganon fight.
Yep. 2 quick hits to him right now, then he'll load up his sword to spin off the trident. There we go. Couple of spins around here, gets him all set up, and waits for him to spin again now that he's in cycle 2. Dash strats going. Oneup is going. Oh, he's picking up some arrows by way of the arrow upgrade.
Yep, almost out.
Yeah, down to 1, and he needs 4 of them for the he needs 4 of them for the mimics. So this is a good move here by Oneup, just remembering about the upgrade.
That's not including the fact that you're going to have to fight Ice Armors just to get the big key, too. So there's another 6 at the minimum.
Yeah, but Oneup doesn't even know that at this point.
Not yet, he doesn't.
All right, silver's my one weakness. There's a one shot of these silvers right there as Buane pulls up his fire rod. Gets the torch glitch. Gets him for a double right now. Up to the top right-hand corner. Buane finishes off the Ganon fight, and he will take a 1-0 series lead and is 1 win away from making it to the top 64 in brackets. Get your GGs in the chat. Buane finishes in first. Official SRL time 1:33:56.
And Oneup about to enter Ganon's Tower. Looks like we have Buane in the waiting room, actually.
You know what? Let's get him on in here. Let's go ahead and talk about this seed. As we welcome in the winner of this race with Buane with the 1:33:56. GGs to you.
Hey Rick, hey Linkola, how you guys doing?
We're doing pretty well. So, what went through your mind when you pretty much nearly last location the Titans mitts on Catfish?
Wasn't such a bad spot, really. If it had been at if it had been at the flipper locations, that might felt a little worse there, since I was kind of saving the flipper locations because I knew, hey, if I find the fire rod, then I get to route in escape and the pyramid fairy and the pyramid check and all the flipper stuff. So I did a couple things looking for the fire rod. Eventually found it in swamp. And said, okay, then the flipper stuff's really going to wait because I'm going to go back up to Skull Woods to get the other 5-6 crystal. So the fact that it was Catfish wasn't so bad. I don't really see a way to have gotten a Catfish that much sooner unless you really just wanted to run up there right away. I was really hoping it wasn't just going to be, in the waterfall cave or at Zora, because flippers were pretty early. I could have gone over there before doing a few of the dungeons. But it didn't feel too bad. The one thing I got worried about later, after mitts, was I was saying, like, hey, if you got the mitts before you did the boot checks, and you went up Death Mountain without the ether, you wouldn't have to do Turtle Rock, and I might be a Turtle Rock behind in that case. So that was the thing I was worried about. Not that I got the mitts so late, but that I had ether when I went up Death Mountain to do Dark Death Mountain.
And you are pretty well spot on with your assessment of this race, because Oneup did get the Titans mitt around the same time that you pulled out the boots off the mountain. Your boots really did help you out in regards to how you moved around. But the major thing here was Oneup did go back down, found the ether, went back up the mountain as opposed to going into Ice Palace. And so he gave that time right back to you. The other thing that happened, and it happened really early in the seed, you had no issues with the Igor room inside of Eastern. Oneup took 2 deaths.
Yeah, it's funny. The Eastern was available, and I was headed over that direction with what it was like 4 hearts at that point. After getting the bow, but I pulled the glove from Sahasra and I said, even though you can get through Dark Eastern without too much problem, when you do it really low percent in a tournament setting, some things can go wrong. So I actually just kind of save and quit, did some stuff in the Dark World. I was hoping to find a fire source or a bunch of hearts to make Dark Eastern a little easier. I think I found a couple hearts. I actually think I had red mail by the time I got to Eastern, so it wasn't a problem at that point. But yeah, it's an easy set of dark rooms until it's not. I think everybody's taken a death trying to do those dark rooms before, so it's not super simple. So I did kind of play it really safe after getting that glove at Zashrala and just said, we'll put off Eastern for a little bit. It actually even worked out even better than I had hoped because I pulled Mirror as well. So I was able to, at least when I went over to finally do Eastern, I did it with Pod. So probably ended up, no net loss of time there. But yeah, those dark rooms are not super easy.
And they're not easy when you lose control of where the Igor is. And that's what exactly happened to Oneup both times. Lost track where it was, and every time he tried hitting the Igor, it got to that rest state, and that just made things even worse because the other one was active at that point.
When that room goes badly, usually it's because, for me, the popos that you don't think are going to be a problem on the left side of the screen, sometimes they can just come all the way over to the right. So you kill some of the popos on the right, you get ready to shoot that Igor, you wake them up, and then suddenly the popos from the left have come all the way over, and they start knocking you around, and then you don't know where you are. You got an Igor active chasing you around the room, and it can get really bad, even for someone who's done it, hundreds of times. So it's, sometimes it's going to happen, especially, when, you go in there in a tournament race and you got the nerves saying, I better not mess this up. I've only got 4 hearts. So, I've been there too. It's not a good feeling.
Speaking of doing this multiple times, you obviously showed a lot of textbook execution throughout the entire fight. Obviously, you probably wished you had that Aghanim 2 back a little bit, but very solid execution from you all throughout, and I think that's what helped pad the gap that you had on Oneup throughout this entire race. Going up the tower after pulling the Dark Magician and then going back to the left-hand side and then finding that the Armos had the big key, where did you think Oneup was in correlation to you when you were climbing up that tower?
It wasn't a seed that you could find everything really easily, but certainly 1 or 2 long checks could have been skipped, depending how Oneup wanted to play it. If he wanted to be really aggressive, there were some things that would have made a lot of sense to cut out. If he wanted to be conservative, maybe he was neck and neck with me. I think Oneup's one of the more underrated players in the second group of players in this stage of the tournament. I was not very happy to see him in my group. He puts up some pretty consistently solid results. Not the kind of player who's going to beat himself. So I was saying he could be neck and neck. He could be a Turtle Rock ahead. There's no guarantee he did Turtle Rock. So it's hard to not feel behind in every race. You kind of, after you've played a few tournament races, a couple one-on-ones, you get used to feeling like, well, I could lose at any second. And if it happens, I don't really regret too much of my decisions, so I'll be okay with it. I'll lose to a good player. It's not the end of the world. But of course, you're checking IRC every 20 seconds. Every room you clear in the gauntlet, you look back over at IRC. Is he done yet? And you get upstairs. Is he done yet? You kill Aga 2. Is he done yet? You dropped again. And is he done yet? So yeah, you're expecting at any minute, even though you're saying, he could have, maybe missed those mitts for even longer, or did the Smith chain, and I'm way ahead. So it's you hope for the best and you prepare for the worst.
Yes, Oneup is about ready to have a 3-cycle Lamo 2 fight going up to the 5th floor of the tower. GG's to you. You are now 1 win away from clinching a perfect 4-0 record into the round of 64 for the brackets.
Yeah, it'll be fun going for the second win. I don't know what changes Oneup will make to the mode, but a lot of good players in this. Every one of the 128 players can beat any one of the other ones. So you can't take any wins for granted. Any wins you do get in this tournament are pretty well earned, no matter who you are, no matter who you're playing. So it's been good through 3 games so far, but Potentially a lot more games left, so can't take anything for granted just yet.
Absolutely. I seem to have monopolized a whole bunch of this interview. Sir Link-a-Lot, anything you want to add?
No, you've kind of been touching on all the topics I was going to, so you've been doing a good job with it.
Did you guys enjoy that show in the Pod Beatles room? Because I don't know what was going on trying to hit that switch. I think it took me literally 60 seconds to get out of there.
Oh, somebody was saying they should put out the Benny Hill music to that.
Yeah. It was an adventure. I may not have messed up any dark rooms in Eastern, but I sure messed that room up. I was just trying to save health. Usually what I do is I throw the bomb over there and then I just drop off the ledge.
We were talking about your merry-go-round performance in that room.
It was fun, and I started laughing on my end, which was making it worse because I was like, "This is hilarious! And I'm never gonna live this down." And then I threw the bomb, and it didn't explode.
Yep.
And I tried to bumper my way through the beetles, which obviously didn't work. So I'm not quite sure what I was thinking that entire time, but I definitely took that as a moment to say, "Okay, we need to focus a little bit harder going forward," because that was pretty sad.
Either that or switch it over to a Calliope music.
Yeah, that'll work too. But yeah, I mean, other than that, kind of a straightforward seed. It was weird. We had access to clear a lot of dungeons really early. We got Dark World access, and there were basically 4 dungeons that you could go in full clear, and it was weird thinking, what's the order I want to do this in? But I don't think it really would have mattered what order you did them in, because the only thing in any of those 4 dungeons was Fire Rod. And so as long as you did Left Side Swamp, which with 3 items left in Swamp, if you didn't do Left Side first, I think everybody would go back no matter what in this situation. So it didn't end up mattering. I was kind of nervous at that, kind of in the mid-game. Hey, if the answer is Swamp, and I choose to do Swamp last after Pod and Eastern and Thieves, then maybe I lose a little bit of time here. But in the end, I don't think it mattered what order we chose. We probably were going to all full clear all those dungeons anyway.
Oneup heading into the Ganon fight. Game 2 coming up. What is that, a couple nights from now?
Yes, Wednesday, a little earlier than tonight's. I think it's Wednesday at 6 Eastern, or 6:30, 6:20 Eastern, something like that.
Yeah, there's a restream. It will be at 6:20 p.m. on Wednesday, Eastern time.
Yeah, shout out to your 1, 2, 3, 4 rupee count.
Yeah, didn't even notice till I'm looking at it here on the restream. And 5 bombs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And there's Oneup finishing off this race with the Ganon fight. About to walk on through the door. Get your GGs in the chat here for our runner-up of this race, Oneup40. A fine run for both of these runners. 146.12 for Oneup. And with that, I think we'll go ahead and start talking about some of the great matches we've got coming up here tomorrow, since this is pretty much our finale for the day. Still may be one more race going on currently at this time. It started 10 minutes later from now. Next race on the schedule features our overall number 1 seed, Banta, taking on Lin. That will be at 9:20 a.m. Eastern time, coming up in 9 hours from now here over on twitch.tv/speedgaming. And before we do that, let's go ahead and get Oneup on in here. So, GG's to you, Oneup. Your thoughts on the seed?
Yeah, GG's to Buane as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
GG, man.
yeah, I had some trouble in the beginning. Yeah, like that Igor room, like when that bow came up early, I knew that was probably going to come into play, and that's probably like my least favorite dark room. And you could probably kind of see I was trying to put it off as long as possible until, it finally made sense. Like there was really nowhere else to go at that point. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
yeah, I guess I could have taken those gloves and gone to Dark World, but it felt, I don't know, a little better to try to clear out Eastern since I had everything I needed.
That's what I did. I totally chickened out when I got the gloves. I was stealing myself up for. I was like, it's gonna be a really low percent Eastern, and nobody's ever died in really low percent Eastern, right? And so when the glove came up, I just kind of said, instead of disaster, I'll just kind of play it safe, which ended up working out because I got the mirror after that. And even though I had to do a dark pot and dark Eastern anyway, because I never found the fire source, I had like red mail and 7 hearts by that point, which made me a lot more comfortable. But like I was telling Rick before you joined here, everybody has died in that dark room before. It's it's just something that it's gonna
it,
happen. It's gonna go crazy sometimes.
it's a room that seems you think Eastern is going to be easy, but that's the room that can just completely go off the rails. And unfortunately, it happened to you not once but twice. They're Oneup40, and
I think the biggest mistake there was going back in because at that point I knew I had gotten all 3 items out of there. And at that point, like if you die on your way to the boss and you have every item you need, then there's really no reason to go right back in there. Like usually the right move there is just to put it off as long as possible until you need that crystal. So going back in and having the second death was, yeah, a bit of a mistake, but yeah, that happens.
yeah, and that's the kind of thing that happens to everybody. Is like I said, you lose sight of that Igor, and that room can easily become a train wreck. And it's unfortunate that happened to you. You had a chance to get back into this race, but when you chose to follow that ether that you pulled out of King's Tomb back up to the mountain, it kind of sealed the deal because Wayne was getting his way into Ice Palace at that point and was just about to find the flute.
Yeah, my goal all throughout the seed was I knew Buane would have the quite a bit of an edge on the execution, so I was pretty much just trying to think, okay, what would Buane do at this point, and just trying to do something else and hope that, I went through in a different order and things showed up differently. And
And
I think that kind of worked out from the most part from what I've heard so far at the end of the seed. Or
interestingly enough, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, interestingly enough, for a good part of this seed, you both were on different routes. It finally got back together once you both made it into Ice Palace, but Blaine went up the mountain while you were checking a lot of the stuff involving the Titans Mitt. Like, Blaine had the boots, you had the Titans Mitt, and that was probably a 20-minute difference between when before you both were able to get the other end of that deal. But unfortunately, I think once the route started to merge, that is when the unfortunate deaths in Eastern kind of caught up to you.
Yeah, and then when I got the ether out of King's Tomb late, I'm thinking, well, you had to, like, if you wanted to get into Turtle Rock, you had to have made 2 trips to the mountain. Like, you had to go to the mountain and get boots, come back down and get ether, and go back up to Turtle Rock.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was more likely that he would have gone to Ice Palace instead of going all the way back up to Turtle Rock. But
That
what I didn't
answers.
realize until what I didn't realize until I was talking to him later was that like the boots were on were on Light Death Mountain, and so so I guess he went up there pretty early, or at
Yeah,
least earlier than I did.
Yeah, I sequence broke. I'm trying to remember if I did that in between what dungeons I did that, but I did see Goose Break up there.
Right after you're done with Eastern and Pod.
Okay, yeah. So after the bow dungeons, I was kind of unsure, what to do really. I mean, because I could have just gone to Swamp, or I could have gone over to Thieves and did that stuff. But I was thinking, okay, if there's a fire rod on Death Mountain, then we can do Skullwoods into Thieves Town, into Swamp, into Pyramid Ferry. That sounds good. But found boots, which was also nice. So I felt pretty good about my boots timing because that seemed like maybe the earliest you could reasonably get the boots. So I was feeling good about that. But it was on the back of my mind, hey, there was a way to climb Death Mountain with no ether, Dark Death Mountain with no ether, and then you don't get baited into Turtle Rock. You could get baited after you find ether later, certainly. But that was a very real possibility. Like, hey, Oneup didn't have ether when he climbed up here. Maybe he didn't do T-Rock at all, even if he wanted to, and I could be a T-Rock clear behind. But, I'm sure if this was a qualifier race, there would be plenty of people who never entered Turtle Rock because they didn't have ether when they were up there. So
Never.
Kind of lucky-ish that it was a 1v1, and we both sort of did the same thing and cleared T-Rock.
Never cleared Turtle Rock, never checked some of the stuff like the Breadsmith chain or whatnot. You had to go into Hera to pick up the Cane of Samaria, but other than that, that was all that was required for. Unfortunately, the second item turned out to be inside of the basement. At that point in time, knowing where you were, was the time starting to become a reason why you skipped the basement one up?
Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to put off some of the longer checks, and I mean, it really is a long check, even though you think it's like only 3 rooms that you have to get through or whatever. It's probably close to a minute and a half just waiting for all those tiles to go.
Mm-hmm. And that makes sense. So game 2 coming up in a couple of nights. Do you know what your option is going to be, or are you going to keep it 7-7 open?
I'm still thinking about that. Yeah, I guess I should probably get that in probably pretty soon so Buane knows what it's going to be. But yeah, I guess
take
we'll find
your
out.
time, watch this thing back, and then come back with your decision. But good luck to both of you guys in game number 2.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Like I was saying before, I think Oneup is pretty underrated. So taking the first game here is a pretty good situation. I'm sure we're gonna have a pretty good race in games 2 and 3. So looking forward to it.
We'll see how it goes. Oneup40, Buane, be sure to follow both of these runners. GG to both of you guys.
Yo, thanks, Rick. GG, Oneup.
GG's.
All right, Sir Link-a-Lot. We got some races tomorrow, don't we?
We have a lot of races tomorrow. A lot of good races, too.
All right, you want to go through some of the schedule?
Yeah, sure. I'll take a few, and then maybe I'll let you have a few as well. But starting, kind of how Rick was saying, we've got Lin versus the first seed Bonta on Speed Gaming. Follow after that, we're going to have Scary Olive versus Tedo on Speed Gaming. And then at 2:20 p.m., we're going to have Jay Misha versus II Yoshi on Speed Gaming 2. Then 3:20 p.m. on Speed Gaming 1, we're going to have Gerdo versus Dr. Marty 0. And I'll let you take a couple, Rick.
And then following that in the evening, we have several matches on the schedule, beginning at 7:20 p.m. Edium versus P-Train over on Speed Gaming 4. At the same time, Zelda Disson versus Aussie 101 over on Speed Gaming 3. At 9:20 p.m., this is not Yoho versus Swerb. That will be over on Speed Gaming 3. And over on Speed Gaming 4 at 10:20 p.m., Cadenza versus Brewers fan JP. That will be over on Speed Gaming 4. And then the nightcap for tomorrow night, Fear Agent versus the Cuts Man. That's over on Speed Gaming 3. But those are not the only races. We got a lot of races. A big chunk of them in the mid-afternoon, a big chunk of them right in the early evening. Be sure to do the schedule. Take a look at the schedule, ! ALTTPR. So you can see what matches we've got coming up and maybe pull up a multi-stream. Maybe we might see a 3-second finish in a race that doesn't get on the channels.
Or even a tie. There's been one of those as well that wasn't restreamed and ended up being a tie.
Oh, also, just because I just forgot about it here, I mean, we got Corn versus Strength. That's going to be over on twitch.tv/ALTTPR randomizer. ALTTP randomizer, rather. That's game 2 of that best of 3 match. So a lot of great races coming up tomorrow. You know, like you said, maybe we might have another 3-second finish coming up in the next few days here. So shout outs to Hanson, who was our tracker behind the scenes. Also shout outs to the crew at Speed Gaming who got us on the air. I'm Adirondack Rick saying thank you for joining us. Sir Link a lot. Get on us on out of here, please.
All right, yeah, I'll kind of echo that. Thanks everybody behind the scenes getting the race going for us. Thanks to both Oneup and Buane for putting on a great race for us. Thanks Hanson for doing the tracking, and thanks Rick for joining me on commentary. It was a great time, and I hope we can do it again soon.
Absolutely. Good night, everyone.